The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to give you an overview of the spending rule utility that is built into the Fundriver Endowment accounting software package. What this allows you to do is administer spending rules, which in turn allows you to set parameters, calculate what's available for spending, run a budget report. So when you're logged into Fundriver, you would go to the Organize tab, and there's a spending rules option here. We have some standard rules built into Fundriver already. If clients have a spending rule or rules that are not accommodated by our standard rules, as long as they can show us, give us an example, send us a spreadsheet on how they're calculating their spending, typically we can duplicate that and put that out here in Fundriver as a spending rule for them. We have some standard rules built into the system already. One of those rules is what we call a percent average rule. And there's a couple different options here. You can apply a distribution rate over a rolling market value average of the individual fund balances. That can also be like a pool level calculation or average unit price calculation. And there's also an underwater parameter that can be set here. So if you have a policy that says we're not going to spend from funds that are underwater, you can set this to 0. If you do spend, you can put 100% in here and then save it. Some other standard rules that we have built into Fundriver is a dollar amount per unit rule. So if you wanted to just apply a specific dollar amount per unit, you could stick that in here and save it and then run the spending distribution process and it would apply that dollar amount per unit. There's what we call a percent of income, where you can apply a distribution rate over a certain number of periods, and you can have that distribute net of fees or also include realized gains. There's a prior year spending rule where you can apply an increase from the prior year, a different distribution rate on new gifts that come in, as well as a rate cap and a floor, and a rolling market value average calculation. There's what we call a prior year weighted average rule. This is where you can apply a weighting on the prior year distribution as well as an increase from the prior year and a weighted average market value, and then also a distribution rate over a rolling market value average. And also just a simple proportional distribution rule. So if you calculate an amount externally, like a dollar amount, you can put that dollar amount in here and have Fundriver allocate that, to the participants assigned to that spending rule. Let me go back to the standard rule that I have configured here, which is what we call a percent average rule. So the parameters for my rule are 5% of a 12-quarter rolling market value average of the individual fund balances. And if funds are underwater, I don't have them distribute anything. So once your spending rule parameters are set, and let's say it's that time of year where you need to calculate, what's available for spending for the next year for budget purposes, you can do that by running a standard report that we have in Fundriver. So if we go to the report tab here, in the distribution folder, there's a report called Estimated Spending Report. And before you run this report, you have to select a post date here. A post date is a closed accounting period in Fundriver. So this is where you can control the timing of those spending rule parameters that are being applied. So if I were to select 6/30/2016, and my spending rule is 5% of a 12-quarter rolling market value average, that just tells Fundriver that 6/30/16 is the last period in that rolling market value average. So when it applies the parameters, 6/30/16 will be the last period in that 12-quarter rolling market value average. That way, if you have like a look back, let's say to 12/31 or something, you can control that here. And then if you have multiple spending rules, when you run this report, you can group it by spending rule. And then when I run this report, it's going to take those spending rule parameters and it's going to apply them and calculate, what's available for spending based on those parameters. There's a column on this report called Estimated Gross Distribution. This is the calculated amount column. So these are the individual name funds. These are their calculated amounts based on those parameters. And in this example, I'm showing you these are annual amounts because I have my annual distribution rate in. And then you've got the total down here. So this report would be like a budget report that you could run, showing what's available for spending, for the next year based on those spending rule parameters. So that's how you can use the spending rule utility in Fundriver to administer your spending rule or rules that you have. If you'd like more information on Fundriver, just go to www.fundriver.com, and then on our home page here there's a contact section. If you select that, my name, phone number, email address are on this page, and there's also, you can submit a request for information as well. But if you have any questions or would like some additional information on Fundriver, feel free to get in contact with me and I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you very much.